Okay, hi everybody. Here is today's story video. Sorry it's a bit late again, but I've been teaching year 2 bubble again this morning. So we're still with the Twits. They're still just as bad as they were. And yesterday we learnt about a new sort of family that lives with the Twits. Can you remember who they were? Remember? Yes, the Mugglewump family, the monkeys. And Mr. Twit and Mrs. Twit's dream was to what? What was their dream job that they were trying to work towards? They wanted to have the world's first ever upside down monkey circus, of course. Poor old monkeys were being made to stand on their heads for 6 hours a day, and the little baby monkeys were fainting because they were getting dizzy and all the blood was going to their head. Well, let's see if the monkeys can get their own back on these mean people. So this chapter's called The Roly-Poly Bird to the Rescue. And he was one of the characters at the beginning, if you remember. There was a roly-poly bird. So let's see what he can do or she can do. Mugglewump and his family longed to escape from the cage in Mr. Twit's garden and go back to the African jungle where they came from. They hated Mr. and Mrs. Twit for making their lives so miserable. They also hated them for what they did to the birds every Tuesday and Wednesday. "Fly away, birds!" they used to shout, jumping about in the cage and waving their arms up and down. "Don't sit on the big dead tree. It's covered in glue. Go and sit somewhere else." But unfortunately, the birds were English birds, and they couldn't understand African monkeys who spoke in an African language. So they just ignored the monkeys and carried on sitting on the tree week after week and getting caught for Mrs. Twit's bird pie. But then one day, a truly magnificent bird flew down near the cage. Look at that beautiful bird. Wow. "Goodness me!" cried all the monkeys together. "It's a roly-poly bird. What on earth are you doing here, roly-poly bird?" Like the monkeys, the roly-poly bird lived in Africa, and he spoke the same language as the monkeys. "I've come for my holiday," said the roly-poly bird. "I really like to travel." He fluffed his marvellous feathers and looked down rather grandly at the monkeys. "For most people," he went on, "flying away on holiday is very expensive, but I can fly anywhere in the world for nothing at all." "Do you know how to talk to English birds?" Mugglewump the monkey asked him. "Well, of course I do," said the roly-poly bird. "It's no good going to different countries if you can't speak the language." "Then we have to hurry up," said Mugglewump. "Today is Tuesday, and over there you can see Mr. Twit up the ladder painting sticky glue on the branches of that big dead tree. This evening, when the birds come in to roost, you have to warn them not to stay in that tree, or they will be made into bird pie." That evening, the roly-poly bird flew round and round the big dead tree, singing this song. "There's sticky stuff all over that tree. If you land in the branches, you won't get free. So fly away, stay up high, or you'll finish up in a hot bird pie." Good song. The next morning, when Mr. Twit came out with his huge basket to snatch all the birds that had got stuck to the big dead tree, there wasn't any there. They were all sitting on top of the cage of monkeys. The roly-poly bird was there as well, and Mugglewump and his family were inside the cage, and the whole lot of them were all laughing at Mr. Twit. Mr. Twit wasn't going to wait another week before he could have bird pie, though. He loved bird pie. It was his favourite meal, after all. So the very same day, once the birds had flown away, he came out. But this time, he painted the cage roof. with glue, as well as the big dead tree's branches. Well, now I'm going to get my bird pie, whichever one you sit on. Mr. Twit grinned. You think about what maybe is going to happen today. Can't sit on the tree. Can't sit on the cage. What's going to happen? The monkeys crouched down inside the cage, watching what was going on. Later on, when the roly-poly bird came back, they shouted, Don't land on our cage, roly-poly bird. It's covered in glue, and so is the tree. And that evening, as the sun went down and all the birds came to roost, the roly-poly bird flew round the tree and the cage, singing out this warning song. There's sticky stuff now on the cage and the tree. If you land on either, you'll never get free. So fly away, stay up high, or tomorrow you'll find yourself in a hot bird pie. The next morning, when Mr. Twit came out with his huge basket, there was not a single bird to be seen, either on the cage or on the tree. They were all perched on top of Mr. Twit's house. The roly-poly bird was up there as well, and the monkeys in the cage and the whole lot of them were hooting with laughter at Mr. Twit. He said. I'm not quite sure what that means. I'm going to wipe that silly laugh off your beaks, Mr. Twit screamed at the birds. I'll get you next time, you filthy frumps. I'm going to wring your necks, the whole lot of you, and I'll have you bubbling in a pot before this day is finished. How exactly are you going to do that? Asked Mrs. Twit, who'd come out to see what all the noise was about. I'm not having you put glue on the roof. Mr. Twit got very excited, though. I've got an idea, he cried. He didn't bother to keep his voice down either, because he didn't think that the monkeys could understand English. We'll both go into town right away, and we'll go and buy a gun. How's that? Oh, that's brilliant, cried Mrs. Twit, grinning and showing her horrible yellow teeth. Let's buy the biggest shotguns we can, and then we can spray 50 bullets at each bird with a bang, bang, bang. Exactly, said Mr. Twit. Lock up the house while I go and make sure the monkeys are in their cage. Mr. Twit went over to the monkey cage. Attention, he barked in his monkey trainer voice. Upside down, all of you, now. Jump on top of it. Quick, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Obediently, the poor little monkeys stood on their hands and clambered on top of each other, with Mugglewump at the bottom and the smallest baby monkey at the top. Now stay there till we come back, Mr. Twit ordered. Don't you dare move. Don't you fall over either. When we return in 2 or 3 hours' time, I'll expect you to find you in exactly the same position. Understand? With that, Mr. Twit marched away, and Mrs. Twit went with him, and the monkeys and the birds were left alone. Poor monkeys. Had to stay like that for 2 or 3 hours again. Well, thank goodness for the roly-poly bird, eh? He managed to warn the birds 2 times. Stay off the tree, stay off the cage. And in the end, they all ended up laughing on the top of the Twits' house. I wonder what's going to happen when they come back from the shops. Nothing ever goes well with shotguns, does it? No. Okay, hope you enjoyed that part of the Twits. We're nearly at the end of this book. I wonder if you can predict maybe how Mugglewump and his family are going to get their own back on the Twits. What might they do to try and escape, maybe? I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. Okay, bye everybody. See you tomorrow.